Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into something that um, we all deal with but might not always feel super confident about, and that's banking.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Specifically, we're going to unpack how to open and manage like a really basic bank account.
Okay, sounds good.
And our source material is a little bit unique for this one.
Okay.
It's actually a dialogue that's designed for English language learners.
Interesting.
So that might sound a little unexpected, but I think it's going to give us a fresh perspective on something that seems like it should be so simple.
Right.
What do you think? Are we about to uncover some really surprising insights from this like beginner's guide to banking?
Absolutely. I think so, because what's fascinating about this is that by making the language simpler and breaking down the process step by step, it actually forces us to look at the essential elements that maybe we wouldn't consider otherwise.
Like, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. So the dialogue starts by walking us through opening a savings account. We meet Emma, who is a first-time bank customer. So she is asking all the questions that somebody who is totally new to this would ask.
Right.
And right off the bat, she's asked for her ID and proof of address.
Right.
Those seem like obvious requirements, but
Yeah.
why? Like, what's the reasoning behind needing that stuff?
Yeah, it's more than just paperwork.
Yeah.
It really comes down to protecting the integrity of the whole financial system.
Okay.
So banks have to verify who you are to prevent fraud and to make sure that they're complying with all the regulations. So it's really protecting both you and the bank.
Oh, so it's about building trust from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. So Emma learns that this savings account offers a 3% interest rate,
Oh, okay.
but it requires a $500 minimum balance.
Right.
And if her balance drops below that, then there's a $10 monthly fee.
Ooh.
So those are important details, but like, how much of an impact do those things actually have on your money?
Right. So that's where it gets really interesting. That 3% interest rate, that means your savings will grow over time.
Okay.
But you have to remember that 3% is just a starting point.
Oh, okay.
You should always shop around and compare the rates from different banks, especially because if inflation is high and that interest rate is low, inflation can actually eat away at your savings.
Oh, wow.
And then with that minimum balance and the fees, those can definitely affect your finances. So if you think you're going to struggle to keep $500 in there all the time, those monthly fees will add up.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like a balancing act between picking an account that has like a decent interest rate, but also being realistic about whether you can actually keep that minimum balance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the dialogue also mentions a debit card and online and mobile banking. And Emma's really excited about these modern banking tools. But are there any downsides to all this convenience?
Right. There are definitely some trade-offs. So debit cards are really great for everyday purchases and for shopping online, but it's really easy to overspend when you have one if you're not keeping track of how much you're spending.
Oh, okay.
And then with online and mobile banking, it is super convenient, but it does come with security risks.
Oh, okay.
You need to be really careful about keeping your login information safe and be aware of phishing scams.
So convenience comes with responsibility.
Yes, definitely.
It seems like a lot to juggle.
It is.
Okay. In the dialogue, Emma also asks about transferring money,
Okay.
specifically the difference between domestic and international transfers.
Right.
And we all know those international transfers can have some really hefty fees.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So international transfers use this really complex network of banks and currency exchanges, and the banks have to pay to use these networks.
Oh, okay.
So they often pass those costs on to the customer, and that's why the fees are so high.
Got it.
So if you need to send money internationally, it's always a good idea to compare the fees from a few different places because there can be big differences.
So it pays to shop around literally.
Yes,
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm also struck by how quickly the account setup is completed in the dialogue.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about that really important next step, putting money into the account.
Right.
The dialogue mentions a few different ways to do this. You can deposit cash at the counter, you can use an ATM, or you can even do mobile check deposit.
Right.
So what are the pros and cons of each of those methods?
Okay, so depositing cash at the counter is the easiest way to do it, but it does mean you have to go to the bank.
Yeah.
ATMs are more flexible, but they might have limits on how much you can deposit at once.
Oh, okay.
And then mobile check deposit is really convenient, but there's usually a processing delay, and sometimes the bank will put a hold on the funds.
Oh, so you might not be able to access it right away.
Right, so you just
Okay.
have to decide which method works best for you and what you're most comfortable with.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a lot to think about, even when we're just talking about basic banking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really does seem like there's so much more to think about than I even realized.
Hmm.
So in the dialogue, Emma's account is set up pretty quickly.
Right.
But the real learning kind of begins after that initial deposit.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Opening the account is just the first step.
Yeah.
The real challenge is managing it well and developing good financial habits.
So what does effective account management actually look like?
Yeah.
I'll admit sometimes I just check my balance and move on. Am I missing something crucial?
You're definitely not alone.
Okay.
A lot of people do that. But think of your bank statements kind of like a checkup for your financial health.
Okay.
They can tell you so much more than just how much money you have.
Okay, I'm listening. Convince me why I should be spending more time looking at my bank statements.
Well, when you actually take the time to look at your statements, you can catch any weird transactions. Make sure there aren't any mistakes, and you can really get a good understanding of your spending habits.
Oh, okay.
So it's all about being aware.
So being proactive instead of just kind of reacting to whatever happens in my account.
Exactly. Yeah, and that proactive approach is a big part of budgeting.
Ugh, I knew that word was coming.
I know everybody hates it.
Budgeting, it just feels like a chore. So how does that fit in with managing a bank account?
Well, a budget's basically like a roadmap for your money.
Okay.
It helps you see where your money's coming from and where it's going, so you can choose what to do with it and make sure you're putting money towards the things you want.
So it's not about depriving myself.
No, not at all.
It's more about making sure my spending is actually in line with the things that are important to me.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, the dialogue focuses specifically on a basic savings account.
Right?
Are there other types of accounts that might be better for different financial goals?
Yeah, there are actually a bunch of different options.
Oh.
So savings accounts are good for short-term savings and emergency funds. But, there are checking accounts for everyday expenses and money market accounts, which sometimes have higher interest rates.
Okay, so let's unpack those a little bit.
Right.
What are the main differences?
Yeah.
And how do you know which one is actually the right fit for you?
So checking accounts are designed for lots of transactions.
Okay.
They usually come with a debit card, and you can write checks from them, so it's easy to use them for your day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
Savings accounts are more about growing your money over time and earning interest.
Okay.
And money market accounts are kind of in between.
Okay.
They often have higher interest rates than regular savings accounts, but you might need to keep a higher balance in them.
Gotcha.
So it's about finding the right balance between having access to your money and getting a decent interest rate.
So finding that sweet spot.
Exactly.
Okay, now beyond those traditional accounts, we hear a lot about online-only banks these days.
Yeah, for sure.
Are they worth considering?
I mean, they definitely have some advantages
Okay.
because they don't have to pay for all the costs of having physical branches.
Mm-hmm.
They can offer better interest rates and lower fees.
Oh, wow.
So if you're comfortable doing all your banking online, they can be a good option.
Is there a downside to that convenience, though?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's nice to be able to go into a branch if you need help.
Yeah. Sometimes I like having a person to talk to.
Right. So you have to think about what's most important to you.
Okay, so again, finding what works best for you.
Exactly.
Now, before we move on, you mentioned credit unions before.
Yes.
What makes them different from the regular banks that we've been talking about?
So credit unions are actually owned by their members.
Oh, interesting.
And they often have better rates and a more personal touch because their main goal is to serve their members.
Okay, so almost like a local business as opposed to a big corporation.
Yeah, exactly. And they often reinvest their profits back into the community.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it can be good for both the members and the local economy.
I'm realizing there's so much more to this whole banking world than I even realized.
Yeah, definitely.
This deep dive is already way more insightful than I thought it would be.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is.
And this is really just the beginning.
Let's get back to Emma's journey in the dialogue.
Okay.
She successfully opened her account and made her first deposit.
Right.
What are the key habits that she needs to start developing now to really make the most of this new account and build a good financial foundation?
Right.
Okay. So we've covered so much.
Yeah.
From opening an account to all the different types of banks and credit unions.
Right.
And it's crazy how much we've been able to unpack from this really simple dialogue that was made for people learning English.
I know, it's amazing. It really shows how important it is to have clear and accessible information.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about something like personal finance.
Right.
It's we've taken all this banking jargon and like broken it down into plain English.
Exactly. It shouldn't be so complicated.
Yeah, everyone should be able to understand this stuff.
Right. Financial literacy is so important.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get back to Emma and the habits she needs to develop.
Okay.
And really all of us for good long-term financial health. Where do we even start?
Well, one of the most important things is keeping track of your spending.
Yep.
It's not about like restricting yourself or anything.
Okay.
It's about knowing where your money's going so you can make better decisions and see if maybe you're spending too much in certain areas.
So many people hate budgeting
I know.
because it sounds like a punishment.
It's not, though.
So you're saying it's more like a tool?
Exactly. A budget can help you spend your money on the things that matter most to you.
Okay, so it's about being intentional.
Exactly.
I've also heard that phrase, pay yourself first.
Yes.
How does that fit into all of this?
That's all about making saving a priority.
Okay.
Even if you can only save a little bit every month,
Yeah.
it all adds up and it helps you prepare for unexpected things or, for your goals in the future.
So it gives you that sense of security and it helps you work towards what you want.
Exactly. And don't forget about compound interest. The sooner you start saving, the better.
Yeah, time is on our side.
It really is.
Okay, we've talked about saving. What about investing?
Right.
Where does that fit in?
Well, a bank account is good for short-term savings, but investing can help you grow your money more in the long run.
Okay.
It's about being a little more proactive with your money.
Investing can seem really intimidating, though.
I know it can.
There are so many options out there and so much jargon to learn.
It is a lot, but the best place to start is by learning the basics.
Okay.
There are lots of resources out there to help you understand the different types of investments like stocks and bonds and mutual funds
Right.
and real estate. And it's important to learn about different strategies and how much risk you're comfortable with
Okay.
and how to diversify your investments.
It's like any new skill.
Exactly.
It takes time and effort.
Yeah, you don't become an expert overnight.
And just like you might ask a chef for help with cooking,
Right.
you can always talk to a financial advisor.
Exactly. They can give you personalized advice and help you make a plan that works for you.
Oh, so they're like a coach for your money.
Exactly. And remember, investing is a journey.
Yeah.
It's not about getting rich quick.
It's about making smart choices and being patient.
Right.
This has been a really awesome deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
We started with the super basics of opening an account, and now we're talking about investing.
Right. It's amazing what we've learned.
And I feel like so much more informed now. Like I can actually take control of my money.
That's great to hear. And remember, learning about personal finance is something you do your whole life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The more you learn, the more confident you'll be.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you said earlier
Okay.
about how everyone should have access to financial education.
Yes, definitely.
That makes me think about like the bigger picture here.
Right. It's about more than just our own money. It's about making sure everyone has the information they need to make good decisions.
Yeah, and if more people are financially secure,
Yeah.
that makes the whole community stronger.
Exactly. It creates a more stable and prosperous society for everyone.
So this is about more than just balancing a checkbook.
Right.
It's about creating a better future for ourselves and for the next generation.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm leaving this deep dive with a whole new perspective.
That's great.
It's not just about managing money. It's about using our knowledge to make a positive impact.
I love that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the world of banking.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope you learned a lot and that you feel more confident about taking control of your financial journey. Until next time, stay curious and empowered.